What's up, friends? Johnny King from my favorite lake in Denver, Sloan's Lake. Beautiful storm going through, as you can see over my shoulder. Just walking the lake with one of my good buddies, and we were having some good, deep conversation about real life stuff. And he asked me, because I told him that I'm turning 40 next month, which is still so crazy because I see it on my calendar. And I remember my mom's 40th birthday. And I remember as a little boy thinking like, oh my God, that's ancient. I'm surprised they still let people live that long, right? Here I am turning 40, certainly in so many different ways, my life not being the way that I thought it would be, right? And yet, actually in so many different ways, so much better than I thought it would be. But he was asking me, what's that experience like? Turning 40, and I said, honestly, it's not like a midlife crisis because I'm living out my life on purpose and out loud, and I'm loving what I'm doing and where I'm living and how I'm certain all the things that are within my control. I love the way that things are going, and yet being 40 or soon to be 40, not yet. I'm gonna live my last month as best I can. It's humbling because you get to look back at a lot of your adult life in the rearview mirror, right? And it's also time to kind of audit your life and ask yourself, like, okay, what has gone well? What would you like to have seen differently? If you want to change your results, if you don't want another 40 years, like the 40 years you've just experienced, then things have got to change, right? So for that reason, I told him that I just feel like it's giving me even more leverage and more passion and drive to live my life with so much intentionality, because I feel like I've lived the first 40 years, not so much the last 10 years, because it's been a lot more on purpose than the previous 30 years before that. But I felt like I was dabbling. I felt like I've more or less coasted through, like I kind of experienced school. I just kind of winged it. I didn't study. I did good enough, but I was always like, but when I get out of school, then I'll be able to really live life. But as the saying goes, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I do realize that the way that I approached a lot of things in my life is also how I've approached a lot of things in my adult life. So, again, like I said, if I don't want my next 40 years to be like the first 40 years of my life in certain areas, then I've got to be extremely intentional. Otherwise, I can't, be upset if I dabble in the next 40 years and upset because I don't end up getting the results that I want. That doesn't make sense, right? So the things that I can control in the way that I am being in my health, in my mission, my life mission, working with men across the world, in my relationships, always looking to level up and to improve, because there's always areas to improve, that's for sure, is what I'm taking into the very last kind of 30 days, if you will, of my 30s. So that may not resonate for you if you're younger than 37, 38. Otherwise, you might be starting to hear that like clock ticking, and for women that are in their, and want to have kids and they're in their early to mid 30s, you probably are hearing a different clock ticking and having different types of conversations, so that might resonate as well. But I would just say at the end of the day, man, whether you have kids, whether you're in a relationship or not, whether your health is where you want it to be, your career, like if you are not intentional with how it is that you want to show up and how you, or what things you want to create, then don't be surprised and don't be upset with yourself that you don't get what you want. And as I just told my buddy as he was just about to walk away, he said there's a very fine line between being very, very clear about the direction and the vision that you ultimately want to move towards, while still having the humility and the ability to be unattached to how it shows up, which is a challenge of mine for sure, because I feel like I have this vision of how I want it to happen. And you have to let go. You always have to surrender. I feel like you have to let go of that control. That's ultimately what we all want, is that control of how we want it to happen. But if we can let go of that control while still being very clear about what you want to create, man, that's where the magic happens. So anyways, enough of my talk for this day. Hope you're doing well, and would love to hear what your thoughts are if any of this resonates. So, later.